Today we're sitting down with worshipful brother Julian Bolster from Sharon Lodge.
You're listening to The First Three Knocks, a Masonic podcast in the District of York, where we discuss topics for the betterment of Masonry. The opinions discussed in this podcast are those of the individual and do not represent the views of Grand Lodge or any other Masonic body. Now, here are your hosts.
Well, welcome back, brethren. We made it back from the hospitality suite.
We did.
We all survived.
With a bag of beer, too.
Bag of beer as well, yeah. And we had the good fortune of running into worshipful brother Julian Bolster, who is the master of Sharon Lodge. And thank you for joining us on the podcast, Brother Bolster.
Hey, happy to be here, guys.
Glad you could join us. So we sort of had you on our list to come in and talk with the First Three Knocks, obviously leading your lodge in York District. And you have an interesting background as well in the work that you do in your profession also. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. I got an interesting background. Like, what in particular stands out to you? Happy to talk about it.
Well, you obviously are leading your lodge, but your path to Masonry. How did you end up in Masonry? What sort of led you down this path?
So two things. My dad. Or maybe not obviously, but in my family, my dad is a Mason, a past master of Sharon Lodge. And he has a really interesting sort of family background with respect to Masonry. So his grandfather, my great-grandfather, was a Mason and went off to fight in one of the sort of wars while they were living in Ireland. Went off to fight in one of the wars and didn't come home. And at that time, widowers did not have rights. Widows did not have rights. So the Masons of that lodge stepped forward and said, "Well, we're going to take your two boys and put them into a private school in Dublin, and every week we're going to buy you groceries." And that continued on for 30, 40 years. The Masonic the brethren of that lodge took care of my family.
Incredible. And
so obviously that sort of sparked this this passion for keeping Masonry in the family, and I am a fourth or a fifth generation Mason as a result.
Wow. Fantastic.
Yeah, cool. The other thing that sort of stuck out for me, in the work that I do. Sort of speaking with people from different corners of the globe, the one thing that has really always stood out to me is how men really are ill-equipped to connect with other men in ways that are meaningful. And that doesn't necessarily mean sitting around in a circle, sharing feelings and singing Kumbaya, but stepping up and knowing each other beyond just your career. Knowing each other, beyond your hobbies, and like sort of going out and doing good work with guys around you, and really standing for the guys to have them be, better versions of themselves. That doesn't really exist in most communities or cultures in the world, but it does exist in Masonry, and Masonry does a fine job at actually creating an opportunity for that to happen. So that really appealed to me. I was surrounded by a lot of men in my career and in my personal life that just were disconnected. Like the tribe of men was somehow lost. And if you look at a lot of indigenous cultures around the world, one of the things that is like long standing is this sort of tribal connection between men. It just doesn't exist in the world. Most of us are busy slaving away in the rat race, come home. We've got a big, long list of honeydews to take care of. And if you can carve out, 15, 20 minutes for your own time to, veg out, that's sort of what most people would call day-to-day living. There really isn't time to connect with guys in a more meaningful way. The tribe of men is lost. Masonry, though, kind of creates a clearing for that to change up. And that really interests me, and that's certainly something that has been really working well. Sharon Lodge and a bunch of lodges in York District.
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about Sharon Lodge. What's going on? You guys are a competitive crew. We know that.
Yeah.
You were a forerunner in the Traveling Gavel and had your hand in that game. So
We made a strategic decision, brotherly love, relief, truth, charity-wise, to step back and let Zaradetha step forward, give them their moment. Sharon Lodge is actually in a really cool space right now. Yeah, we've got like some interesting fluctuations around, where our home is going to be. We recently sold our beautiful lodge, which our members bought the land and built the lodge 40, 50 years ago, a while back. So it was really our building. And we just sold it to a bunch of developers that are sort of developing immediately around us. And we're there now, but we sort of have this deal that, the developers will sort of give us a heads up as to when it's time for us to move on. So we're kind of in this cool place where we're trying to figure out what our future is. And that would actually invite some calamity for a lot of lodges. But our lodge is actually tackling it with a lot of harmony, which is
Excellent.
Really
Awesome.
really cool. And yeah, we've done a lot of growth in this last year. I think we're up to 8 or 9 new members, and we've got a slate of other new guys coming in. We just had an awesome family day event. And I think we got 4 or 5 applications out of that.
Fantastic.
So yeah, like
Great stuff.
as a crowd, we're really up to something. We're doing something. Guys are having a lot of fun, and we're growing. So it's fun times.
That's very successful numbers to be bringing into the craft, let alone for your lodge. What are some of the things that you guys are doing that you think is driving that? Like, what are some of the things you can share with?
Well, it's small things actually, and that's the cool thing. That's the message that I would want to send out to any Masons or junior or senior officers of any lodge that are listening. It's not big changes, right? It's not small changes can make big differences. So we used to do our practices on like Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening before we did a degree, or even, because our lodge night's Tuesday. Sometimes we'd even do our practices on Monday. But we changed it to doing it Sunday morning. And we'd all get together and we'd have breakfast together. And it was just a lot. I saw you guys looking at each other.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're talking about something very similar.
We're working
Yeah.
on stuff like that right now, so it's perfect.
Yeah, it's crazy how that was like a small thing. And we just started to have a lot of fun doing that. And we started having like more like social nights and just getting the guys involved. We did a family night just recently. I'll talk about that because it's, the paint's still wet in my mind. And we had a lot of fun. We brought in a member of our lodge, Brother Cameron Britnick. Shout out to Cam, who is a brilliant magician, and he came in. He did this really cool magic show for the kids. We had an enormous, like 15 by 15 foot bouncy castle. Quick shout out to Arrow Inflatables, York Region, who cut us a great deal. We had a huge bouncy castle, which we put like, right near the road so people could see it.
Yeah.
We had a big sign that we rented on the roadside inviting everyone, like open invitation for people in the
full community thing.
And ironically, I think we had like a handful, upwards of a dozen people like in a nearby subdivision just show up. And it was really cool. So we had like games and activities and events, and it was just a lot of fun. Another event we did, which was a while back, we did a Christmas party, as most lodges do. And again, we had a Cameron Britnick, Brother Cameron, did his magic show, and it was just like really well received. But we went out and we decided to buy Christmas gifts this year rather than, what we've done in past years is we've asked, people to sort of bring a gift for any kids that are going to be attending. And we just said, you know what, forget that. We're going to buy the gifts. And we went to our amazing senior warden, Nick Jackson, who's in the background Woohoo, Nick. Nick and I teamed up. We went to a toy warehouse, and we just, powered through a spreadsheet of people that we knew were attending and bought some extras. And it was amazing to see all these kids opening their gifts and playing. I think some of the more senior members of our lodge that have contributed a lot to our legacy, were saying that this was the best Christmas party event that they have ever attended at Sharon Lodge.
Brilliant.
In, as long a time as they've been involved, so 30, 40 years. And it's really just about, what was it? What were we saying? I forget who we were. One of you, maybe someone in the hall I was talking to. I was right. As I was walking up to the room today, the guy approached me and said, "Oh, I remember you from Zeradetha," and you were saying it's not just about the floor work. It's not just about the ritual. That's what he said. Yeah. And really, it's not. I think the majority of the magic for us, I think 90% of our fraternity happens outside of lodge, and encouraging, our senior members to stick around for that and be a part of that is really working.
We were just talking about that on our very last podcast we just recorded a few moments ago about, it's not always about the seriousness of what happens in the building, in the walls, in the tiled room. It's about the social aspect where you bring your families, your friends, your community, and it just reaps all the benefits. It stitches it all together. It's connected. It's amazing. So that's fantastic that you're sharing with us the great success you guys have had, just, making a couple of small minor adjustments and leading by example. That's fantastic.
Guys want to be connected. Yeah. And you don't think about it because most guys don't sit around. I mean, Masons are slightly, different cut above, I'd say. But most Masons don't most guys don't sit around and talk about wanting to be connected. But the reality is we all want it. We all want that meaningful connection with other guys. And I think that's what we're doing really, really well at Sharon Lodge. I know we're seeing that at other lodges in the district too. And I gotta again give a shout out to Zeradetha because they've really, they've walked out on the skinny end of the branch this year doing some really cool stuff, and they've been inspiring conversations. And there's a lot of, especially here, a lot of awesome masters of lodges, and we're all up to something. Yeah. And it's about the connections that happen outside of the ritual. And that's where the magic is. That's the magic zone.
Yeah. Well, I can speak for myself, seeing, amazing masters like you just said, and looking to aspire to be just like you guys and bringing our own visions and our own flares and our own touches.
I like this guy.
You know what? We have some fantastic traditional ways, but we also have to kind of include our visions to bring it to that next level. And when you just talked about how you had a handful of new candidates, and we have some, and from everybody throughout the district that we're talking to, it seems to be that we have a surge of new candidates coming in. We seem to have put our finger on that pulse to figure a way to get out there and not just, ask a brother or ask a person, hey, you might make a good Mason. We just had an open house where a couple guys wanted to come to our fraternity and to maybe be a part of it and such. So again, it certainly speaks volumes of where we're going as a district and beyond. And we have some fluctuation in numbers every year, but it seems to be on the right path again from what we've been experiencing. So that's fantastic.
We had the good fortune of traveling down with worshipful brother Mike Redmond this morning, and we were of course talking about the traveling gavel because it's been the talk of the town all year long.
Traveling podcast in the car is what we recorded.
That'll be a mobile podcast.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome.
But the really interesting thing from that example is the connection between the lodges has really increased. I mean, here's even an example. We're sitting down with you and your senior warden, and we're talking about the ideas that make it work. And that information is shared openly, freely, because we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Like what you're doing with the bouncy castle, for example, or buying the toys. Back of the mind. That's a good one. We could do that. Why it doesn't have to be complicated.
Well, all of that is just, all that's just dressing, right? That's just props on the stage for the main show. Think about it. The majority of, I can only really talk about, this generation. I can't really talk about 3 generations past, but, the majority of guys that sign up, that say, yeah, okay, I want to join this masonry thing, it's not because they witness parts of the ritual on some Netflix special. It's because they got together with a group of guys and they're like, this group of guys is cool.
Yeah.
And I'm connecting and I'm doing something other than just my honey-do list and working. And that's their experience of Masonry that has them say, I want to commit. I want to find out more. And then often, Masonry slips into like this conversation about ritual and it sort of, fades away from the conversation about just guys coming together, being connected.
Mm-hmm.
And it's anyways, we're having a lot of fun. And I think, York District is really lucky. We've got so many amazing lodges doing crazy, cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a busy year for sure. I mean, we also were speaking with our DDGM and district secretary who's at the end of their term tonight.
That's a shame.
In the next hour. That's
Tomorrow morning. Once
Tomorrow
it's
morning.
officially passed over, they've said, we always hear, you're almost done. No, not till tomorrow morning.
We're going to squeeze out those 7 hours. They're good men.
They are. And it's been, again, under their guidance and leadership this year. I mean, we've had some amazing years in past years, but maybe I'm speaking a little bit on a personal note because they are members of the Rising Sun. Who knows? Maybe, I'm weighing on that one aspect, but it really has been a lot of fun. I'm a fairly new Mason myself, coming into 5 years now. I've had a lot of fun so far, but this year it's just been a little bit extra special. And again, we're sitting with worshipful brother Bert Telly, who's one of my sponsors, and our right worshipful brother Scott Rickman, also one of my sponsors. So it's even more special for me to see, the guys that helped bring me into the craft, to kind of lead and to show me the way and to build that foundation even stronger, and then to meet fellows like yourself or all the stuff we're doing in the district and finding amazing men out there. We often talk about some of the things that Mason brings, and we talk about it, that missing spiritual piece or that missing brotherhood that, as men, we're, I don't know, maybe too embarrassed to go out and seek. When you find it, oh man, the doors that open, the gears that start moving and everything, it's just tremendous. So again, it's been a lot of fun. And I always say that all the time, but I truly mean it. It really is a lot of fun. It is. It absolutely is.
It's really important that you're talking about it because this is a conversation that, does not happen.
Yeah.
It happens like in this room because we all get it. We're experiencing it. But outside of this room, I mean, how many, I can look at my own group of friends that I haven't spoken to about Masonry, and they don't have these conversations. They don't talk about, how they just really want to have meaningful connections with guys.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even know how to say that without, feeling like they, feeling weird about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really important that we talk about it. And I'm hoping that, prospective Masons are like tuning into this podcast and listening. And on that note, I got a little something to announce.
What's that?
So a group of lodges in York District, we're loosely calling them the 5-5, but at this point, it really doesn't matter, are going to be doing a rolling social night.
Awesome.
So one night a month, and we're going to rotate around each of the 5. One night a month, we're going to have a social night. You come, grab a burger, have a drink, and like maybe we'll be doing cards. Maybe we'll be like, I don't know, doing whatever. But each guy at lodge, you're going to invite 2 friends. You're going to drag them along, guys that aren't in Masonry. And it's not about recruitment. It's not about ritual. It's just about them experiencing a group of decent guys getting together and having fun. And that after, 1, 2, 3 of these experiences, if something about Masonry calls these guys forth, they're going to step up and say, yeah, I actually want this more often in a more sort of, serious sense. Anyways, social night, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we are rolling it out in September because most of us are on summer break, so that's going to be happening.
Great.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
More details to follow.
Yeah, get us the details.
Awesome.
We'll put it on the app.
We'll put it on the app. We'll talk about it more.
It's a great, and I would be happy to say the Rising Sun Lodge would love to be number 6 if that's where you're going with it.
Well, I think Bert and you and I had a conversation.
We're good.
Okay. Rising Sun's one of the 5.
One of the founding fathers.
You're a founding father. Yeah, no more beer for you.
Yeah, maybe
That's
a few too many at the hospitality. There we go.
Cut off.
No, but this is exactly the platform and the vision that we saw when we put this podcast together. It's talking real about the experiences that we've gained, that we're sharing with others, that we're interviewing. It's not always about the ritual and the traditional way. It's about, the other aspect that, like you said, we just don't talk about out there with our friends, because it's not that we're at a different level, but we are at a different level at the same time. We understand where we're all coming from. We get it. We're there to support each other, be happy to share with each other.
Amen.
And other people might be a little bit embarrassed or a little bit more conserved, so they kind of tend to shy away from that. But the more that we can share these kind of experiences, it's truly for the betterment of the world, not just Masonry. So that's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I often imagine in my overly romanticized, fairy tale imaginings, that if every guy in the world were a Mason, we would not have the problems that we have. Like, wars would be dealt with.
I say that all the time.
There'd
So there
be
you
like
go.
integrity in politics, integrity in business, and climate change would be like something, we've solved. Anyways, I'm a little passionate about that.
That's
Yeah,
great.
no.
Yeah.
That's
Sharing your whole
fantastic.
self.
Amen.
Brilliant.
All right. Cool.
One last question for you, because we're at the annual communication of Grand Lodge. Your impressions, Grand Lodge.
I love what I'm going to be apolitical here, so I'm not going to talk about any particular people that are running for offices in Grand Lodge, but I love what's happening in our district. We've got distinct candidates that have stepped forward that are interested in the office, and they're just like handling it in a really great sort of Masonic way. I love what Grand Lodge has done in the past year, and I'm excited at the continued focus on growth and innovation. It's time to bring Masonry in a different way to the newest generation, and I feel like the leadership at Grand Lodge and at the district level is really supportive of that. So it's exciting times for your district. It's exciting times for Freemasonry as a whole.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well said. Well, with that said, worshipful brother Julian Bolster, thank you for joining us here on the First Three Knocks and sharing your passion and your energy and your insight.
Yep.
We'll see you at Social Night in September.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. You're doing great work here, and look forward to more podcasts.
Cheers.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the First Three Knocks. Happy to meet, sorry to part, happy to meet again.